This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Greetings one and all, it's Lembit Öpik here on Lembit Öpik Live. There's a clue in the name, on Unprecedented TV, the freest speaking channel in the universe. At least that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you if you have already subscribed on YouTube to the channel. The more of you subscribe, the more we can get done due to the interesting way that algorithms work. So please do subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything for now. And you'll be part of an elite group of people who think for themselves and sometimes, hopefully, enjoy what we share. Our aim isn't to beat the mainstream media. It's to be the mainstream media. So the more of you subscribe, the better it is. My target is 8 billion subscribers. That might be a bit optimistic, but if we get even a tenth of the way there, I'll be pretty happy. Also, remember, we have an increasing schedule of shows. We're hoping to start from 7 a.m. UK time, right through till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Now, that puts us ahead of just about anybody else in the podcasting world. We've left them far behind. We are a proper, fully fledged TV station. And here's my appeal to you. If you want us to do something by way of a program, do get in touch. We're quite easy to contact and we'll consider your proposal. Also, I very much thank the vast number of people who got involved in the chat yesterday. Oh, yes, you will find a chat box as well. And if you're watching the live show, then I usually get time to read some of them out. Not always, because we do get very busy here as well. But this is all part of the evolving performance and the evolving aspirations of Unprecedented TV, the home of free speech. Now, today, I want to talk about somebody who hasn't always been completely honest. Yes, of course, it's Labour Chancellor Rachel Reeves, the lady whose CV wasn't, let's say, accurate. Her explanation was that somebody else had written it. Who writes somebody else's CV? Come on. All right, well, that being so, she has managed to earn herself the label Rachel from Accounts or Rachel from Complaints, because not all was as it seemed in the claims she made repeatedly in speeches. Yes, Rachel Reeves, our Rachel, wasn't quite as qualified to be Chancellor of the Exchequer as she made out she was. Perhaps somebody wrote the speech she read out as well, and she didn't notice that it was lying about herself. Well, okay, well, there's only a limit to how much the public will swallow when it comes to porky pies. Lies. But Rachel has been at it again. Last year, she told us she wouldn't be coming back for more taxes. That's pretty much exactly the quote that she made. Lo and behold, this year, she's coming back for more taxes. She's pretty much promised that now. And who's she going for? The wealthy. Oh, yes, the category that's leaving Britain in droves. The UK has lost more millionaires in absolute numbers than any other country in the world. Where are they going? They're going to Dubai to an extent. Whatever happened to worries about global warming and climate change? Maybe that's another lie. And they're going to other countries where they're treated a little bit more favorably. That means the UK has a millionaire's exodus, all thanks to Rachel Reeves and her superb, in my view, mismanagement of the economy. But what are the truths here? And to what extent can we trust her this time? Is there any prospect at all of this particular government turning the economy round, or will we be bumping along the bottom? Joining me now is somebody who's never knowingly undersold when it comes to truth. It's Keith Tordoff. Keith, good to see you again. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Lembit. Good morning to you.
And you really are an MBE, aren't you?
Yes, genuinely. It's on my CV, which I wrote.
Rachel Reeves, she's a princess, isn't she? That was on her CV, wasn't it?
Well, I'm sure we can keep adding to it.
Just a little bit of your background, because this is a particularly appropriate subject for you, isn't it, Keith? Tell us, I only learnt this really in the last hour, but you were in the banking world yourself, weren't you, Keith? In a proper job?
Yeah, long career as a police officer in West Yorkshire with an exemplary service record, and then went on into banking, where I worked starting off with Bank of Scotland, and through mergers it became Halifax Bank of Scotland, and ultimately Lloyds Bank, which I left in 2010.
And what did you do there?
I was an investigator. Following my police service background, I was an investigator for the north of England.
And that basically means that you had to check if people were keeping secrets and telling lies.
Yes, it was. But actually, to be fair, although Rachel Reeves did work for Halifax Bank of Scotland in the same period, I didn't come across her, and there was no investigation from me or my department in relation to Rachel, although I believe there were allegations made after she left in relation to her expense claims and whether they were legitimate or not.
Yeah. Well, let's start with that. So we've got Rachel from accounts says she was infamously labelled forever by Lee Anderson. It's one of those classic lines you can't shake off, but like George Galloway's two cheeks of the same backside for the major parties. And here's the thing. When I was applying for jobs, way back when, not sure if I'll be writing another CV, I'm 60 now. But when I did, one of the things they said is you have to tell it like it is. You can sell it, you can spin it, but don't make it up. And when I went to work for a great company called Procter & Gamble, everything I said in my CV was true. And I suppose the way I looked at it, Keith, was if I figured it out when I started working, because I wouldn't have had the qualifications or I wouldn't have had the experience that I claimed I had. Why would someone, let's start with this fundamental point, why would somebody have a dishonest CV?
I think, to be fair, it's always gone on. People have always embellished and built on what they've actually done, added a little bit to it. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of people were very straightforward. But I think there's always been those people out there. So, and it's been most probably taken to another level in recent years with the advent of the internet, which you can get, obviously, now AI to write you a CV, which can be glowing if you add 1 or 2 points to it.
But in banking, you'd expect people to have to be particularly honest because it's a matter of trust. I'm in an ongoing dispute with a debit card provider at the moment. I won't name them yet, but I think they've been completely dishonest. And I'm trying to get them to put that right, which is why I don't want to name them at this stage. But it does tremendous damage to a banking system or a credit card company if they're found out to be lying, because you're not going to want to trust somebody with your money. Now, if you're the Chancellor, you're in charge of everybody's money. You really want an honest person in that job.
Yes.
Before we won't come back to the CV thing, but just one more question. Was it, by the way, I'll tell you, I don't think it was a sackable offence to lie for her to have a dishonest CV. I think it was damaging, but I don't think it was a sackable offence. But are we reading too much into it? Or is there some case to answer about her CV?
I think there is a case to answer. You know, we need credibility, we need honesty in people who are supposed to be serving the public. And clearly she's portrayed that she's a certain character, and clearly she hasn't been. So, as you said about banking, it should be all about trust. I think everything's dumbed down, unfortunately. Times have to move on, but we've gone from the bank manager who clearly you could trust to so-called bank managers who are in call centres and moving on quite often from one department to another. It's all changed, and we've lost that confidence that we can have in banking. I think most people have lost that, and clearly bank closures, one member of staff usually on a checkout, all trying to do it online. Clearly, it's totally changed. Rachel Reeves, I think, clearly, she should have gone in normal times, but they're determined to keep her in position to carry out the work that she's been asked to do. Because at the end of the day, it isn't her; it's the people behind her who are instructing her what her role is. She's a front person for it.
A couple of thoughts here. If Donald Trump or Elon Musk had waved in that way, there would be terrible accusations from 80 years ago. But Rachel Reeves gets away with it. The second thing, is her sanctimonious, supercilious attitude. I think it just exacerbates the problem. But with the CV thing, I think it is a problem and it's damaging. If she was great at her job, then perhaps people would put up with it. But instead, people see some smarmy, self-satisfied woman who keeps telling untruths as far as people are concerned. But let's move on from the CV to the bigger question. Last year at the budget, Rachel Reeves said she wouldn't be coming back for more taxes, almost an exact quote. This year, she's going to be coming back for more taxes. How can she get away with that? Can anyone survive the credibility hit when you promise something on the most important thing for a lot of people here, and then you do the opposite?
I think the public are being drawn into an agenda, into something which she's been put forward. She's got a certain persona that she has to keep up so that it hides her weaknesses, her deficiencies, and she's there as a front person for now. If she has to move on, they'll put somebody in her place. So it's more important that we look at why this process is taking place, and clearly all of this damages the economy, and there's that many things going on which are damaging the economy that we've got to look at it and say, is this the bigger picture? Is this the plan? We had the crash of the banks in 2008. I personally believe we're heading towards the biggest crash ever in due course, whenever they decide to create that crash. And it's been orchestrated around wanting to introduce central banking digital currency, but that has to be based on the fact that people have to have one form of ID, a digital ID.
Yeah, just a couple of more things on this, and then I want to bring some of the quotes in. What's true on Rachel Reeves' LinkedIn CV and what's not? The Chancellor of the Exchequer being embroiled in a scandal over the editing of her LinkedIn. And then she blamed somebody else for that. But that's something we see time and time again. She's always blaming other people. Somebody else got her CV wrong. There was a £22 billion black hole, apparently. We'll talk about that again in a little while. My team want me to put up two other possible claims. Apparently, here's an artist's impression of Rachel Reeves' holiday home. Apparently, she's the first woman to have a holiday home, which she built herself, by the way, out of Lego. And then the other one is apparently Rachel Reeves was the first woman to scale Everest single-handedly. She did this as well.
Well, part of the queue to the top.
Yeah, possibly so. I suspect just in case anyone thinks I'm being serious, I think my team's having a bit of a laugh, Keith, but it is quite good. She's basically opened herself up to that kind of ridicule. Now let's talk about the black hole and everything else. For a long time we were told by Rachel Reeves she was dealing with a £22 billion black hole, but it's very hard to know who she can blame now, because she's been told that the black hole that we got now is actually essentially created by Labour. Now, this is an interesting one. I'm not sure if it's this year's black hole or last year's black hole, but there's no doubt that big black blob is bigger now. Who's she going to blame for the black hole? We can go into the minutiae of that. I don't really want to, but I got the feeling that Rachel Reeves was blaming the Tories for 14 years of mismanagement, but the black hole she's talking about is worth as far as worse. I heard it's over 30 billion. Who's she going to blame now? She's been in the job for over a year.
Well, these people have got plenty of front, and I think she'll keep fronting it out and giving the answers that she's told to give. I don't think she's the person who knows. I don't think she'd have an understanding of the basic maths involved. And clearly, our country, along with many others in the West, have got huge debts, trillions of pounds, really. And the problem is they can't service those debts, and it's getting deeper and deeper. And that comes back to what I've just previously said. We're clearly heading towards another crash, and they're just managing that crash for us, and she's a front person to manage that for the people behind her. She's not the front, she's not the person who has the answers, she's not the person who's the mathematician, the economist. There's people in the background who are working the moves out, and as long as they can keep leading us along, they're distracting us from the bigger picture, which is what is going on. All the inflation. We all know the inflation figures are ridiculous because we can see the difference in prices. You know, Marks and Spencer's, I believe, for a rib of beef for 6 people, it's something like £195 for Christmas. So inflation is there. People can see it in the shopping baskets. And she is just managing a decline and ultimately the fall of the current banking fiat Ponzi system.
You haven't got a very high opinion of it, and you're probably more entitled to talk about it than a lot of other people. Let me share some comments, because the comments box is getting really busy, Keith. You're obviously a big draw.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'll read some of them out to you. Holly says, is it Lumberjack Thursday, which is probably a reference to this shirt. I wear this shirt a lot because it's really comfortable. Well, I get very animated and the studio gets quite warm, even though we've got some air conditioning. But I wear this because it's really comfortable. I don't have a very large wardrobe, Keith, probably the worst wardrobe in broadcasting. But I'm wondering if that means you're the Holly that I met some time ago, and you used to follow me on another station. Could be. Did you say if it's the same one? I never knew your surname. Yeah. Colin had said, good morning, Lembit. Good morning to you. Colin adds, Rachel Thieves. Yes, indeed. Rachel Greaves was the one I heard when she burst into tears. Holly says, thick as mince, presumably not you or me. If it is you or me, then please don't clarify.
I can take it. I've got broad shoulders.
I'm a lumberjack.
Yeah,
pretty tough. I can fell trees. Colin adds, they'll just continue to turn the screw, and we'll talk about that later. Holly had rats learning the sinking ship, leaving the ship, thinking ship more like. Colin says Keith Tordoff's got cool posters. The Thought Police is going to ban that soon.
Yes, yeah.
Is that a million years BC?
It is, yes. Raquel Welch, the late Raquel Welch, and obviously my childhood poster.
Yeah, it's kind of, there are some images you can't unsee.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
Colin goes back to the question of CV. Too complicated for her. She probably was a cleaner, and also she misled us on the CV because she knew it wouldn't be checked. She was wrong about that. And adds that they've run out of things to tax. Christopher Jennings makes a very personal point. I think her haircut suits her. You know, I first got roughly this style of haircut. In what year do you think I got roughly this style of haircut, Keith?
1990s.
1980. And I never changed it since then. 1980. Right.
Yeah. It looks like a police officer's from the 1970s, 80s.
I'm not sure if that's good or bad. You see, as an ex-copper yourself, you remind me of a phrase: a person with a hammer sees everything as a nail. Christopher is asking, I wonder if your hair color is natural, Keith.
I thought I was asking you, but not me.
So we're both, yes, it's no, I dye it. It's actually brown. I'm a lot younger than you think.
Well, I say it's blonde, but everybody else tells me it's grey.
My 4-year-old came up to me and started prodding my tummy, and I thought it was quite cute. And she said to everybody in the room, "Daddy's having a baby." So we'll continue with this in just a minute. You're watching me and Keith Tordoff here talking about secrets and lies from Rachel Reeves. What can you really trust? That's the question. Looking at all your comments, and thank you, by the way. It's so much more fun that you're all commenting. Now, Claire Dyer told me off recently because I wasn't promoting her show enough. Well, I heard you loud and clear, Claire. 2 things to say. This week, if you're watching it live, this week, Claire did a story exclusive. We broke a national story about a chap called Remming and Sean Remming. And he lost his job because he was putting UK flags up, Union Jacks, in the north of England. The whole of the media jumped on it, but we did it first. They didn't credit Unprecedented TV, but I thank you, mainstream media, for realizing this is the home of free speech. This is the home of breaking stories. And we got there first. Unlike Rachel Reeves, we really were first at the top of the mountain on this one. So do recognize that Claire Dyer gets great guests on dire consequences, and we get out there first. watch and learn, and it would be nice if the mainstream media had the humility to credit us with being ahead of all of them on our meager resources. Secondly, Claire Dyer's show is absolutely must watch if you want someone who lifts the lid on some of the terrible things in our society that the mainstream would rather you didn't see. Yeah, Rachel Reeves has made up so many things, but Claire Dyer tells it as it is. And she takes a personal hit for it. Claire, if you're watching, we salute you for what you do. And that's why I'm featuring your show on my show every day this week. Back to Keith Tordoff. Keith, we were talking just before that break about your prediction there's going to be a large economic crash. Tell us more about that.
Well, clearly, we're in a paper money system, the fiat money system. That
Just explain what fiat is. It's not a car.
Well, it could be, because they're pretty poor, weren't they, the fiat? So they used to be. And the economy's pretty poor. And the fiat money system is the paper money system that's operated around the world, which has no real true value to it. And clearly, if people are keeping up to speed at the moment, they'll see in the world that the big talk is about precious metals, because people in times of concerns about the economy turn to precious metals, i.e. silver, particularly gold. And the paper money system usually has a cycle, and within that cycle, that's why we last crashed in 2008. The banks and government used to work together to bail out the system, as they did in 2008. But next time, it will be the people who bail it out through their accounts, and the protection that's allegedly offered will not necessarily be covered, because they don't have sufficient funds to cover the bailout that would be necessary to give everybody £85,000 per account and per account holder. So my prediction is, and not negative, I'm saying just look at the facts. In history, they print money for so long, then they change the system and collapse it. They've clearly trying to adopt a new system which requires everybody to have a digital ID. That's why it's being pushed so much. And behind the scenes, it's been introduced by various methods, whether it be travelling abroad, whether it be driving licenses, whether it be school children, bit by bit, trying to, as fast as possible, get digital ID in, and then they can introduce a token type banking system, go away from the paper system to a digital currency, not necessarily Bitcoin, but each country's own individual Bitcoin in our case, etc. And they're building behind the scenes to that effect. That's certainly my information from my contacts who I was connected with in banking. They're preparing for that system. We will have a crash, and it won't be too far away. That's my prediction.
I'm told that. Sorry, I interrupted you. You finish your point.
No, I'm just saying that's my prediction. It's only my personal point of view, but historically, I've been around for a fair old time. I'm, old. I've been through various crashes and obviously involved in the banking, connected with people I'm talking to. The banks are certainly preparing for a digital currency. So that's what the governments are trying to distract us from what is taking place. And so long as they can keep talking about wars, so long as they can keep talking about food shortages, medical problems, etc., the public are distracted from actually looking at the economy and what is going to happen to their lives because of the fact that the money will be crashed. Hence the reason the very wealthy isn't just about the tax and being introduced. They know from their advisors and everybody else to get out of this country to places like Dubai, because it's going to happen in America, £37 trillion in debt in America. Trump's obviously heading towards devaluing the dollar and changing the financial system. The same in Canada, the same in Australia. It's lockstep. They're all doing the same together. And, that's Keith Tordoff's personal take on it from my investigation. Now, my investigative background as a police officer and banker, and my investigations, what I read and what I research, etc., getting rid of all the rubbish that's talked, they are the basic facts. And we will have a huge, huge depression crash. I'm sorry to say it.
It'll be called the Tordoff short. It's got a kind of a ring to it somehow.
Well, it could be, but look at the price of gold, for example. Record highs yesterday. Silver, there's not enough. The Royal Mint saying we're not going to produce any more Britannia gold coins or silver coins. Why? Because they haven't got the metal. Because the people who realise are investing in precious metals, as they always have done throughout history, as a protection against the wealth. It's wealth preserved.
Let me read a few more comments. I'm just trying to encourage viewers to feel that they can be part of the show. Loads of comments here. Colin says, presumably of Rachel Reeves' dozy mare, and she'll have another panic attack. Yeah, it's not that I mind people being upset, but if you burst into tears when you're essentially in the office next to your boss, it's not a good look. It doesn't inspire confidence if when the person who questions you the most goes, how confident is the Prime Minister in the Chancellor? And the Chancellor goes, it doesn't help. Imagine if you're on an aeroplane and the captain was crying. You wouldn't want to be on that plane. You just wouldn't.
You were a good bit of acting there, mate. I liked it.
Well, there's so many analogies I could use. Hello, this is Captain E.E. Smith. We hope you're enjoying your transatlantic maiden voyage on the Titanic. You don't want to hear that, Good news, there's plenty of ice. But anyway, that's the way I see it.
Well, you used to be on the stage, I think, didn't you, Lembit?
Oh, no, I didn't. Life's a stage. Oh, it is. Yes, it is, Lamb Chop. It is Holly. Holly, you found me. Holly, you found me. Build it and she will come. We built unprecedented TV and you came. Bring the others. We are here for you, Holly. I would only take these criticisms about my lumberjack shirt from you, Holly. It's great to have you back. Who's Rachel said it's going backwards in Colvin's estimation. And Colvin says just about the flag thing. A few of my neighbours have put up flags, one England and one Ireland. Yeah, Holly, as it says, flag nonsense, all by design. How ridiculous to be arrested putting up a union flag. Well, this guy, Sean Remick, lost his job because of it. Now that the British media's gone crazy about it, but we broke that story. Claire Dyer broke that story. It's definitely worth subscribing. You'll get the stories first here. And Keith, CBDC, Collins predicts 2030. A problem reaction solution again, says Holly. And Collins makes a point here, which I'll make. I studied economics. I was actually top rated at school for that. And I studied it at university for a while, but then swapped to philosophy. My understanding is that the total amount of actual money, pounds and pence, the stuff you could put in your pocket, not the card, but in your pocket, is 3%. 3%. 97% is made up. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's in history. Paper money, it's called the Cantillon effect. I mean, you studied economics, so you're a wiser man than me. I'm a layperson. But mine is dealing in business also, because as well as the things I've done, as you can see, all these posters around me, I'm still a businessman. I still run retail businesses, and I see how the distraction has worked in terms of people. Certainly the initial COVID, money's dirty, don't handle it. Amazingly, got rid of a lot of people using cash, so they use the cards. And bit by bit, there is only a limited amount of money in circulation. There's only so many trees in the world for them to cut down and make the paper from. And it's getting less and less. And they're making it harder for people to use cash, i.e. go to your bank, ask questions about what you're using money for if you're taking a reasonably large amount out. Ask in the shops, making it easy for people to use the watch, the phone, next, of course, your head or your wrist or whatever that you've got some kind of system implanted in. It's all going dystopian, to be quite honest with you. And they deliberately are distracting people. So there is less and less cash being used in society. I say we run businesses, retail business, and in retail business, you can see it, people using cards all the time, but that's geared in a particular way. And the next they will tell us that cards can be lost, etc. So the easiest way is have this implant under your skin. Now it sounds dystopian.
Oh, no way, man.
Well,
no way.
They've done it in Sweden already at Lembit, where people have volunteered, young people have volunteered to have a little tiny grain of rice implanted in the skin between the thumb and the forefinger, and they can scan with that. So people will, and the younger people obviously see it as progress, but to anybody else, we see it as control, certainly when we're older. So I try and persuade people wherever possible to continue using cash, to use the few banks that are left to go and draw your money out of. And that they are distracting us as the government with all these talks. It's great that you brought the story on flags, but the flags is another distraction that the government wants us all fighting over and arguing over. Because while they're doing that, the magicians, they're actually picking your pocket. And when I say picking your pocket, they're introducing digital ID in all shapes and forms, in all areas, and bit by bit, go to the cinema, use digital ID, go to the restaurant, use digital ID. And we're getting drawn in, but people aren't seeing it. And that's why I come on a program like this, if I'm invited, very kindly by you, to try and say to people, look after yourselves. I'm positive. You need to be planning. You need to be looking forward. The gentleman who commented and said 2030, my information is it's going to happen sooner than 2030. So, but within the next couple of years, the change is coming. And I say, just look at into economics, look at what's happening. I come back to it, precious metals. I'm not a salesman for precious metals, but clearly people...
Sound like one.
Yeah, people.
Are you working for the Chinese government? Rare earth metals.
Well, interestingly, in China, the price of silver is higher than the rest of the world. But normally, it's all married up; it all is equal. But at the moment, they're paying over $100 an ounce for silver to draw silver into China, whereas in this country, we're at roughly the £40 mark an ounce in this country, not dollars. So the world and there's becoming so-called shortage, whether that's being created by the government to draw people's money into that so they haven't got money in their own banking accounts. But I think, historically we can see that people, the true wealth are precious metals. So the people who are going to Dubai and millionaires who are leaving this country, etc., there's a reason for that, and they are getting all the signs, all the signals of what's going to happen. Number one is a crash. And certainly in other countries, so it's no use them going to somewhere like Spain or Portugal, etc. So that's why they're going to a place like Dubai. And also the fact that we're heading towards, if people don't wake up, this digital world where they can control what you spend, when you spend it. I mean, you go to the bank, you want a certain amount of money to, say, buy a car or something like that. It's the sort of Spanish Inquisition. What do you need this money for? Sorry, you can't have it. So clearly the banks are trying to control the amount of money that's flowing out at the moment. And they want people to keep tying the money up in the various investments in time. And of course, the people who are more elderly, like myself, are likely to do that because they think, I'm getting an extra 0.5% or whatever. In real terms, the money's going rapidly down.
No one expects a Spanish Inquisition, but that's another story. A few comments again. Colin says that I wouldn't be going to Dubai. I quite like it. It's essentially a huge big shopping center in a desert by the sea, but it's very safe. The weather's good and people are basically happy. And it's argued the only time it rains really hard when somebody cloud seeds, but that's another story for another time. Holly says, I'm heading into a parallel system of bartering. Okay. Queen was fuming after the sell-off, apparently, of gold. Christopher Jennings says, got all my gold coins already. Okay, Christopher, what's your address?
By the way, I didn't say I had any, and it certainly wouldn't be kept here.
Well, that's what you say. We've got a picture. Actually, one of our team, before we came on air, one of our team came up to your front room and took a picture of what's inside. And apparently this is an artist's impression of your front room. Basically.
Well, also in my front room, I've got Goldfinger on the wall. That's a giveaway.
To quote Laurel and Hardy, is that more than £50? Why, it's more than twice as much. Anyway, there you go.
You definitely need to go on the stage, Lembit.
You know what? I didn't used to eat anything before the show, and I was grumpy grouch. Ask Moose, our head of production. Says, "What's wrong with you?" And now I know what it is. So now I keep a jar of peanut butter in the studio, and before we get going, I have some of it, and this is what happens. It's fantastic.
Well,
really.
I don't know what the connection there is, because I don't think peanut butter is exactly good for you, but there we go.
Blood sugar. It's great for your blood sugar.
Oh, well, I can just eat some sweets to get that.
Too sweet for me. Too sweet for me.
Oh, I
there
love
we go.
sweets. Love sweets.
We're covering. Well, apparently, I don't know if you know this, but Rachel Reeves invented peanut butter. Did you know that? I have to wait for an aisle to be open now in my local Lidl if using cash. Yes, that's the point. Colin makes a point. There's so much pressure, just like you said, to do away from cash. Cash is still king, many would say. But apparently, I was in a meeting last night, actually, where Alan Miller, who is head of the Together movement, and they're making great strides, actually, in fighting ID cards and signed the Together Declaration and
Yes.
Go to the Together website. Very, very impressive.
I've signed it, actually.
Somebody shouted, "Cash is king," and he said, "Yeah, that's right. Cash is king." Holly says, "Trouble with cards is when the power or connection doesn't work, they don't work, and neither does my business by design." Funny enough, I was actually in my local co-op recently, and I couldn't get a signal, and it stopped me from buying things. And then I realized the only reason I was buying things is because I was going past the co-op. So it actually saved me money. It's a great co-op, I have to say. But it's true. If the system goes down, as we've discovered with all the cyber attacks, everyone's in trouble. A £20 note can't go down. Well, you can burn it, I suppose, but that'd be completely different. And also a friend of mine who got a lot of cash as the nature of her work in market stalls, and often it's cash. She took a lot of money in and she wanted to bank it. She just didn't want to keep cash, and it's something like, I don't know, thousands, which I put it in for ages, and they wouldn't accept it. Yep. The bank wouldn't accept it. They said, "Where did you get it?" She said, "Well, I run a stall," and they wouldn't accept it. So then she went to another branch of the same bank. They said, "We're not accepting this because you just tried to do this 4 miles away." It's unbelievable.
Well, it isn't to me, Lembit, because it's not the banks, it's the people who are getting ready to crash the banking system. They want to reduce the amount of cash in the system. Once they've got control of people using the cards, the phones, etc., they will crash the system. It'll most probably be done on a bank holiday weekend or sometime after Christmas when everybody's at home, etc., so the shopping doesn't matter quite much. And they can introduce their system, which is to save the public, help the public who struggle, because when they were in the supermarket, the system crashed, they couldn't pay. They're doing it. It's like a test all the time of how they can introduce these things. So we don't tend to, the average person doesn't tend to see why this is happening. It is a plan, it is a policy in my view, and I know running businesses, when the system goes down, the majority of people don't have cash, so it ruins businesses as well. But of course, that is part of the plan, because they want the big corporations to control everything and people to rely on the big corporations, the big supermarket. And that's why they've destroyed the smaller businesses along the way, which COVID started that, shutting small businesses who struggle to survive, and continues now with small businesses, as you say, who people go to the bank with cash from the businesses. And where have you got that from? And as I said, it's the inquisition, or whatever you want to call it.
Spanish Inquisition.
These people are just the front for it to the banking staff. They don't realise that the job's going to go. Same as the supermarket people when they try and put people through self-checkout. I will not use a self-checkout, Lembit. And if I go with a trolley and they say there's no member staff, I abandon my trolley and leave. I will not go down the system of being controlled, which is what they want. But not enough people stand up.
A friend of mine was in a shop, in a supermarket with her shopping, and very nice lady, but lady came up to her and said, "Oh, you can self-checkout over there." She said, "Oh, no, sorry, you don't understand. I don't work here." This is a nice response. And they don't understand necessarily. They're actually doing themselves out of a job. Maybe they haven't got a choice. Maybe they've been told to do it. But it does bother me a lot. Let me just get one more tranche of comments. Time is going so fast with you today. Why would anyone? Holly says it in slightly stronger words than this, but why would anyone? I'm paraphrasing, Keith. For what reason would anyone want to go to Dubai? No, thanks. Because it's hot, it's safe, it's sunny, you can swim in the sea, and you won't get robbed. You won't get your phone robbed. It's safe.
Yeah,
unlike London, it's safe.
Yeah, society of our government have created this, Lembit. Things can change, things could be stopped. I don't want to go to Dubai. I'm from this country, and we should be able to live here with all the seasons, which we can enjoy the various seasons, some more than others, and we can also understand the system, and hopefully we should have law and order. But we've got a government who are deliberately undermining that and destroying it. I don't think Dubai is the answer, because it's, I mean, let's face it, you're a stranger abroad, and if the politics change in a country like Dubai, God help some people, to be honest with you, ultimately. And how safe are you? It's a bit like people being drawn into, in my view, but again, it's on my opinion, into Bitcoin, because it's drawing people into systems which a third party has control over and can see. Everybody thought everything was encrypted with phones. I'm a bit more suspicious, having been a detective, having been a police officer, and as a bank investigator, I'm a lot more suspicious. But also, I think I'm trying to say, I've also got a certain amount of and knowledge from connections and people, and this is a deliberate policy to distract everybody from what's going on, whether it be the flags, whether it be arguments over religion or whatever. We're being distracted, we're the pawns, while we're getting lots and lots more people who are becoming billionaires through the last few years. Guess what? They're protecting their wealth, they're getting ready for what is the inevitable. They will leave the rest of us to be controlled by government unless we wake up and start challenging people like Alan Miller together doing a great job, etc., which I read about. We need more people, though, to be speaking out, and people to vote with the feet. When you go to the supermarket, don't use a self-checkout. It might cause you a massive amount of inconvenience, but do that. When you go to the bank, demand that you want your money out when they try and stop you getting out. Cause a queue behind you. We've got to start doing things in a civil way, but also in a revolutionary way.
You're probably going to be arrested now for causing a civil disturbance.
I'm expecting to knock any time.
Inciting queuing hatred. A few ones. Chris, I thought it was you as well. I'll call you Chris from now. And he says, the Lembiteers have returned. That's true. The Lembiteers are welcome here on Unprecedented TV. As I said before, we built it and you are coming, and that's fantastic. It's not quite pantomime season yet, says Holly. Oh, yes, it is. How can this is a gift that keeps on going, but we'll leave that behind us. Banksters. That's interesting. You can get away with that even on a family show, but we all know what we mean. See you later, Chris. Just a couple more. I'm talking quickly because we're nearly out of time. And these parasites are trying to destroy everything, says Holly. Well, this is a big worry. Now, a couple of more points I wanted to make, and it's really about the Rachel Reeves. Now, what's true in Rachel Reeves' CV? We were talking about that before. Well, there's another big question which comes with that, and that's really a question about how bad is it going to get. We've got an artist's impression of it's actually, we put this into AI, and we've got a summary of how the economy is predicted to turn. That's really more or less what you said. I think there are dollars behind there, but that'll work just fine. And my biggest concern is that we're already there. The growth figures came out. If you're watching this live, growth figures came out today, 0.1% growth. But we also know if you take the increase in the population, largely caused by uncontrolled immigration, almost entirely caused by that, we are the slowest growing country in the G7. Whatever happened to growth, Keith? Is she incapable of doing it?
Yeah, obviously she clearly is incapable of doing it, and certainly Starmer, who's supposed to be leading this, is incapable of doing it. We've lost our position on the world stage as leaders, and we are not going to be able to recover that with the present incumbents. I don't know that the alternatives would be any better. So I think what we need is people, say, individually and as communities, to try and understand, work together to not let these shysters do what they're doing to us.
You really are pretty angry about it. Well, let's look at Rachel Reeves again. And Rachel Reeves says wealth tax hike part of the story in autumn budget. She seeks to plug a £50 billion black hole. 50 billion. I knew there was a figure. I'd forgotten that the team had put this in. There we go. A Chancellor has acknowledged she's looking at potential tax rises and spending cuts to plug gaps in her autumn budget, which she said had appeared due to the lingering impact of Brexit. Yeah. Oh, give me a break.
Go on. The old chestnut.
It's just, now it's Brexit. Okay, so now having blamed the Tories, no, it's not that at all. It's Brexit. It's Nigel Farage, the Prince of Darkness, causing that foolish, underqualified, incompetent, in my view, woman, well, I don't know. Based on what Keir Starmer said about men and women, she could be a man, I suppose. It's all about self-definition. But that woman to destroy our economy and to not run it at all. Holly seems to have said, quite Keith, I live where I live. You can see that on the screen. You can see we've got all these innovations. You know what? This station's actually innovating faster than me. I didn't even know we could do that. Well done, team. We can put stuff on the screen now. And I think that's probably Moose's work there. But this 50 billion pound black hole, how did it go from 22 billion to 50 billion?
Well, we keep giving more money away to other people. We keep giving it away to Ukraine to squander or do whatever they do with, get more people killed. And of course, you know, the mention of allegedly what Boris Johnson scuppering potential peace talks for allegedly receiving money. So we keep promising more money to Ukraine. That creates a huge black hole every time we ship it across there. And, you know, now we're, I believe, going to supply money to the reconstruction of Gaza. Now, there may be merit to some of these things, but let's look at it. We're going to have a big hole if we keep giving money away from this country. But I personally believe these are all distractions, and they've been done. They are intent on destroying the economy, to crash the economy. And she is a puppet, and they will replace her. And the next person, then, we forget about Rachel Reeves X number of months or years down the road. And this is what government can do. They do it with health secretaries. Keep moving a health secretary around, certainly the previous government, so that we all forget who actually carried out whatever role or part in a particular situation. It's a tactic. And these are puppets. We aren't looking at the bigger people behind it. Where are the BlackRocks in this? The people who came to speak to government very early on to speak to Starmer. You know, the Larry Fink from BlackRock, Bill Gates traveling around the world and getting his influence and his philanthropy spread.
Making his CO2 and telling us not to.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got to look at it. These same characters are there, but the actual biggest ones who we don't most probably ever hear much about are the ones who actually do control this, and these are the families, same families who've done it for over a century, i.e. the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, who keep in the distance, keep drawing the money in, but control the wars, control the pharmaceuticals, and control what is happening in our country, in this country.
Ollie says they're so bad that even though they're instructed to destroy the country, they're not even meeting that target at the moment. I'll finish off on a blast from the past. I think it comes from around 1978. If I was to put a poster up relating to the Labour Party from around 1978 to 1979, which may reflect the way we feel now, what do you think that poster would say?
Well, it's got to say something about the crash, surely.
What was the slogan? Last night, I met the man who was directly involved in coming up with the slogan for the 1979 Conservative Party election campaign. Remember it?
Well, I should do, but I'm trying to rack my brains and see where you're going.
Labour isn't working.
Right.
Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Labour isn't working. That was what it was. And
yes.
I have to say, it seems to me that poster could be renovated now, could be brought up, and basically, I'm not sure, but I have to say they have a huge problem now. They really have a huge problem. Last prediction from you then. Give us the date when the crash will occur.
I think next year, 2026.
Okay. But here's Rachel showing that everything's getting better.
Well, Rachel, as I said, she's got to play her part and convince the public that we ought to be directing our sort of angst at her, the Labour Party, but we're actually all being played to be drawn into that scenario. And I personally aren't. And as I said, I just hope people are aware and prepare in terms of, I'm not somebody who's depressed or down about it. I'm very positive, saying, look, this is just the system. They're playing with people. And for us, they class us as the plebs, the bottom of the pile, and they are interested. The ones who are in the know at the top know what's happening and when it's going to happen, and that's why they will come through. And the rest they'll be looked after in some shape or form by the nanny state, the government, and they will rely on the state, and they will be controlled by the state. But we've got to try and stop that.
Thank you so much. And Holly, you've got special mention. We kept you on the screen there all the way through the last 10 minutes. Welcome back, Lembiteers. Big thank you to Keith Tordoff, MBE there. Big thank you to the Lembiteers who have found us here on Unprecedented TV. Do subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube. That helps us a great deal. Do tell your friends and do retweet this as well. But hopefully you had some insights there. Essentially, Labour isn't working. Reeves was telling porkies on purpose or otherwise, but she certainly deceived us if she raises taxes. And as I put out on an X yesterday, if you're watching this live, if she does raise taxes after saying she wasn't going to come back for more, well, basically, that absolutely destroys Labour's economic credibility. That's my view. You can carry on having your chat with me. Go to @Lembit Öpik. Happy to have a bit of an exchange there. And do enjoy all the other great shows. We're so close to having a really, really fantastic schedule of programming every day, even potentially a Sunday service from Reverend Kai Duar. More of that later. I'm Lembit Öpik. That was Lembit Öpik live here on Unprecedented TV. Have a better day than Rachel.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages.